So don't stop. Keep at it. Don't change your course no matter what customers tell you. It's a matter of time before it will show traction. So really what I'm asking here is, where do you draw the line between being persistent and being stubborn and blindsided for your startup?
So your big problem is you're delusional, Brian. That's what it is.
Okay.
All right. So you have being delusional. So that's one of the big challenges. I'm going to come back to what I said earlier. Having a strong network around you is really important, because those people, you need to have a few, and that's a much smaller group of people that know you really well and know what your weaknesses are and your strengths are, and can help call you on those kinds of things, right? So how do you have that sort of tight group around you? Now, there are a lot of times where many people are going to tell you that your idea is a bad idea, it's not going to work, people aren't going to buy it. The only people who matter are your customers. Right. They're the only ones who matter. And it might take a while. You might have talked to 100 customers before you find the one, right? And part of the problem is likely that in those 100 stories, you'll be telling the story differently until you get the story that works. And oftentimes looping back to that first person you talked to with the story that resonated, that's the test, right? Because just because you got it wrong the whole way, it's oftentimes our ability to describe this idea, to tweak the magic. You get feedback, sometimes actively and passively around it, and then you're making these adjustments. So if you're really good at it, you're constantly making these adjustments to your story, and that's what's telling you whether to keep going in a direction or not. It's okay to run hard in one direction, but be really, really clear about what your hypothesis is and be objective about it, right? I'm running in this direction, I'm testing this particular thing, and if this particular thing turns out not to be true, I'm going to stop and take a moment to
pivot,
deal with that. I don't know if it's pivot, it's sort of an overused term. You can tell when it's being used in weird ways outside of the startup world that it's already, you know what jump the shark means? That notion Fonzie. You guys are too young. You have no idea.
I know it.
I know. Well, you guys are old. Okay. Anyway, so look, I think what it is you're constantly making course corrections and you're making adjustments based on new information, and being really clear about that notion of sort of tacking towards your end objective. And then there's some times where you're just not going to get there, right? You just have to be real about whatever it is not going to happen. And that's when it's time to really take a break and say, all right, I'm going to stop this whole activity and move on to the next thing. Because there is a next thing.